Okay, so I'm going to argue that the VLE's not dead at all, and in agreement with Graham, there's certainly a lot at stake with this debate. Now, first of all, I'm a pragmatist. I'm not an idealist, and I'm certainly not an educational theorist, or neither an educator, or even a learning technologist. But what I do have is experience of supporting the staff and students that actually use these tools and technologies all the time. And perhaps unlike academics, I get to see multiple faculties. I attend 21 different programme committees each year, and I get the input from a wide variety of backgrounds. And I think that gives me a different perspective on what actually is happening out there and what the people are really looking for in this. So I've made the VLE green on this because it's nice and healthy, green shoots, not dead at all. But there is an overlap with personal learning environments and personal teaching networks. And I'm going to be arguing that the VLE as a concept is not dead. That's different from individual products and issues with things like that, but as a concept it has an absolutely vital role to play. But where does it live in this evolving landscape of technology? Well, there are personal learning environments, yes, as Graham said, everybody's using these. Face-to-face social networking, we've always done that. This is nothing new. People have always met in coffee shops and in libraries and read books and gone to the cinema and learned things from their peers all the time. All we're doing now is it's mediated by technology. It's enhanced a little bit. But it's always been there, nothing new. And similarly with the personal teaching network, academics have always gone out and met other people, been to conferences, talked to other people, gone to a opera, something like that, picked up an idea out of the ether and then used it in their teaching. This is nothing new. So, and scroll down, but where does the VLE sit in this? Well, within that, where they meet, that's the key thing, is that within your personal learning network or environment, you'd be off and looking at all sorts of different things, but when you want to study a particular subject, you want to go to a place where that material exists. And similarly, if you're imparting knowledge to somebody, you want a place to put that where people will find it. And that's where the virtual learning environment comes in, is bringing those people together. So, what I'm saying is that the VLE doesn't need to be a single product though, and it needn't be from a single supplier, and it needn't be static. It certainly needs to evolve as technologies develop and come along all the time. It needs to be taking on the best of what's out there. But the things it definitely does need to be is reliable, effective, and efficient. And efficient, especially in the future of the funding that's facing the world with the world's credit crunch and things. We're facing a lot of pressures in education. It's got to be delivering value for money. And if you are using ad hoc tools out there, it's not necessarily efficient. And the other thing we need to look at is the sustainability of education. If you're using third-party tools and you spend a lot of effort putting your content in there, that company could disappear tomorrow. You know, companies are going under all the time, and even if you pick one of the bigger ones, who knows, they might just decide not to support that anymore, to just disappear at a moment's notice. That's where the VLE is important. It allows you to plan for that business continuity and sustainability of your educational resources. But what attracts people to educators to leave the VLE? Sure, there's better tools out there, third-party things always look nice and shiny and new, but the students don't want it. When we presented this argument at the Old C, I quoted one of the papers that was presented there that made the case that students are not demanding the latest, greatest, nice, shiny things. They're the ones that want things to be reliable. They want to know consistently where to go to find things. They want the education to be easy, basically. And similarly, are educators students even able to use this technology effectively? Again, at the Old C conference, I cited one of the other papers presented there that was saying clearly that they don't. Yes, they use Facebook, yes, they use Twitter or whatever, but do they actually know how to use it for education? No. They know how to talk to their peers and go on Farmville and grow animals or whatever they do on Farmville, and look at it, but not to use it for learning. That's not what it's there for them. So, on that screen instead. technology. So, education as a journey. This is inspired by a tweet that Steve made some time ago, where he mentioned that if the PLE is a car, then the VLE is public transport. Now, I believe what he was alluding to there is that with a car, you get a choice where you go. With public transport, you don't. You get on and you get off at your destination. But there are some things public transport really excels at, getting a lot of people from A to B. So let's say, for instance, you were travelling from London to New Zealand, although let's call it ignorance and enlightenment to avoid upsetting James calling it London and New Zealand if he brings back bad memories of his travel recently. What education is about is getting a lot of people from A to B as effectively and efficiently as possible. So, I've lost my place again, this isn't working very well as a way to do it. I told you it was too busy, too far down here.
Wrong mouse.
And I'll leave you notes this one. Wrong so the answer is cheap haul flights, pushing my analogy of journey further. And that's what institutions are about, getting a lot of people from A to B as quickly as possible, as easily as possible, as comfortably as possible, and as cost effectively as possible. Now, yes, you can go backpacking around the world, and you can travel by plane if you were going on long haul flights, but you could go backpacking. Come on, slide, I got the timing wrong. Or you could take some more creative forms of transport. Now, the problem is, if people go backpacking around the world to get from ignorance to enlightenment, most of them won't make it. They might find interesting ways along the route that distracts them and they end up staying there instead. But a lot of them will actually give up, go home and be scarred for life and never venture out of the house again. Now you might, when you do get there, the few that do make it to that destination have probably learned a lot more along the way, a lot richer journey. And they're probably much more able to then carry on and continue their journey in the future. But at the same time, it may have taken them a lot longer to get there. And can we afford that when we need people to get their skills improved in a time in order to start being more productive in society? Very controversial. We do need to make sure that they can drive a car at least when they get there, though. We wouldn't want the learners to be stuck at the airport when we get them all the way to their destination and not carry on. But that's basic skills, and that's the sort of things that they can pick up along the way in order to carry on their journey outside of the main institutional teaching. Now, of course, a VLE has to support and actively encourage the creation of rich and valuable content. And if it's not doing that, then you need a better VLE, which is why I'm not going to defend any particular products that may or may not meet that criteria. But within that, if it's not delivering that, you need a better tool. And you need to make sure that the pressures are within your organisation to do that. If you go out and use third-party tools, then the problem is you intend to make a nice, finely crafted Swiss watch. But if you pick tools the user doesn't like, they see it as a Heath Robinson mashup of all sorts of a mess that they can't make any sense of with all the bits of string showing. Which is why, again, the VLE is important, because it can provide that consistency of tools and interface that they only have to learn one way of doing things, and they'll know that their learning is not impaired by having to learn the tools. I was talking to Steve on the way up here about the problem of having to change context getting in the way of being able to understand the subject matter. So if you had somebody that had to go to Flickr for one thing and Twitter for something else, they'd have to switch contexts as well as learn, and that's an extra overhead that prevents the learning. Okay, so in summary, I think a VLE as a concept is thriving, vibrant and essential. It needs to be reliable, efficient and effective, they're key. And there's nothing new about all this talk about PLEs and personal teaching networks. And the VLE as a concept was needed before those terms existed, and it's still needed now, and it will be into the future. Sure, the exact products may change and evolve, but the concept's bigger than any one product. And if your VLE isn't working, fix it. You might feel constrained by the fact that you've paid a lot of money for it or anything else, but you need the tools that actually deliver for you. Make sure you've got them.
Thank you very much.